special episode today. We got Justin Pugh with us, former Giant, former Cardinal. Is that the only two?
The only two.
That's actually pretty impressive for a lineman, I feel like.
I was hanging on the streets for a little bit last year. I was panhandling for a minute on the streets. The Giants picked me back up. And that's when I came in, right after I signed. I came in.
Yeah, right off the couch, straight to Pick Central. That's what it was. We got Big Ev also, Clemmer, Rico. I know we have Justin Pugh, but they started off with the hell. You want
Crazy.
a helicopter?
I mean,
do you want a helicopter to Saratoga?
You're going through it as you joke around. You're like, I was looking at flights. I don't think they'll do that. Helicopter, it's just. You ever have somebody get dragged in the locker room, like just all the time?
Yeah.
In film session? Yeah, that's what it is.
I got to defend Rico here. We were talking about this yesterday, and we were talking about trains yesterday. You never once brought up a helicopter.
No.
So he got Dave Portnoy invited Rico to Saratoga, and he was talking about he doesn't like driving. He says he's a bad driver. It's 4 hours away? It's
tough.
5 hours away?
3.
It's
tired.
It's not easy to drive around here either. You gotta be, to drive in New York and New Jersey, you got to be willing to get your car hit. So I'm on board. I'm tracking.
Especially when you have a temper problem like him, it doesn't help, So it's like
Got the road rage.
So supposedly he was asking like what other ways, and he said, "Oh, like a helicopter." You said helicopter?
Yeah, it's jokingly. I'm like, there's no helicopters. Jack just fucking started it to the show. If that's what they're starting with, that's tough.
Sometimes you got to shoot your shot though. If you get a helicopter.
Yeah, sometimes you throw things out as jokes, and then maybe it comes true,
Of course.
I think there might have been a little bit of that.
There was a little bit of a truth there.
Yeah.
Like if you said helicopter and they were like, yeah, we can make that happen.
Yeah, but the other real the other real part of the story was I was going home with Mike, and we were talking about when he was leaving. So I'm also working on a ride with him. So like the helicopter is about a 0%
So
truth.
you were working a ride with the security guard.
Yeah, because they're all going from Staten Island. So I'm really working that. So am I really working a helicopter? I doubt it.
You're working a ride.
Yeah, I'm working a ride.
A ride.
Don't want to
besides
drive.
You driving,
don't want to drive.
Want to work a
Let's
ride.
be honest. Want to go? Don't want to drive.
I'll drive with Mike anywhere.
Yeah.
I trust him with my life.
Safe guy.
And I'll get you there. Probably it's 3-hour drive, 2 hours.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, that's we'll start with that. I want to get straight into this. Have you watched the Hard Knocks of the Giants?
I have watched the Hard Knocks.
I think it's basically so far all our personal favorites so far, because that's like the most interesting shit behind the scenes that you don't ever get to see. You kind of know what goes into training camp already now. Like there's always like a guy that was a walk-on basically getting to a team, which is awesome. But this was like one of our biggest players leaving, all that. What have you thought about it as a player?
I've loved it as a fan. As a player, it's tough because Saquon came out and even said, I didn't know they were filming me. So it was kind of like a catch-22 where as a player,
I didn't know he said that.
As a player, you don't know what's going on. It's gotten a little bit stale in the sense of like since the early 2000s when it first came out, when the Ravens were on it. Like, it was amazing to see. Hey,
that was an unreal season.
All these undrafted free agents.
Saragusa giving the kid $100. I don't want to see the back of my fridge. And then he tells him I'm going to give you more money for beer later.
R.I.P. to Goose, man.
Unreal.
Him and Shannon Sharp were unbelievable.
Unreal on that show.
So we kind of got used to like the storylines and how guys come about. But now seeing like the general manager, you think any other teams are going to open up and do this? It's been amazing for the fan base. And for the New York Giants to do it.
I couldn't believe they did it. Like, honestly, I'm happy as a fan to see behind the scenes. I don't know. I liked kind of how Shane was, but also it's like such a business where they're not you guys as a player. It's got to be weird as fuck because it's almost like you're not a person in their eyes at that point where it's like money wise, is this going to match up with what we need? Oh, he's only 26. 27's old now.
Yeah.
Tariq Cohen retired today. He's 28. That's insane.
The running back market is crazy, and I think that's where I think Saquon and the Giants both can win in the situation. The Giants said, hey, we're willing to pay this. Saquon, you want this. Go out to the market, and if you see the free market's willing to pay it, go get it. And that's exactly what he did. Now, it hurts. You saw the owner, John Mara, say, hey, it's going to hurt to sleep at night knowing Saquon's in Philadelphia, but that's the risk you pay. The Giants wanted to set an identity. They're like, we don't want a quarterback making $40 million handing off to a running back making $13.
Yep.
Well, they don't have that, but now they got Malik Neighbors.
It was awesome.
And you're depending on Daniel Jones. And that's, last year, a lot of injuries, a lot of different things. You paid him. He took you to the playoffs. So now let's see.
How do you feel overall they came off? Because as a fan, it was what I was nervous about because I just love the Giants so much. And I don't know if it's a situation where you've never really seen anyone else behind the scenes, so it's like they're the guinea pig of it. And I feel like the public narrative now has come off like that they haven't come off great. How do you feel about
Is
the
that
way
the
they
public
came?
narrative?
I kind of feel like I've seen a lot of that.
I don't really
also,
know.
I didn't love the Saquon phone call. Not even that the not filming part. I just didn't love the way he was like, yeah, like you promised, like do I have your word? You're gonna come back to me? Because it just felt a little like childish. Like we know this is a cutthroat business. Like that's not how it goes. So I didn't love kind of the way he like presented it there, but. I don't know. I feel like there has been some backlash that the Giants don't look great from it.
What I will say is think about how hard it is to be a general manager. You only have $255 million in the salary cap. I'm saying only, and it's a crazy fucking amount of money. But like,
well, when you're paying quarterbacks $60 million, that's what percentage of 222?
Exactly.
Quarter of it.
Yeah.
So when you look at that from that standpoint, it's hard. The GM wants to be a friend to the players. You have some GMs that can do that. You have some GMs that don't even talk to the players at all because, hey, at some point, I'm going to have to cut this guy. I don't want to meet your kids. I don't want to meet your wife. Yeah. At some point, I'm going to have to take that paycheck, and you're going to have to figure out what you want to do next. So I love the fact that, look, Joe Schoen has his process. He knows how he wants to build a team. He doesn't value the running back position past a certain threshold. The issue that hurts me is Saquon Barkley was more than just a running back for the New York Giants. He was everything. When you thought New York, you thought of Saquon Barkley. It was the same thing with Odell Beckham and Dave Gettleman. They went back and forth on that. There's a reason he's hired to do that job, and you hire a general manager to be the leader of the team, and he's going to have to sleep on this decision. The Saquon walking and then trading and paying Brian Burns, those two things are going to define whether he has a job going forward or not, and that's on him. Like if he doesn't and then this whole thing flops and Saquon has the best year ever with the Eagles, Joe Schoen probably is not going to have a job.
Yeah,
because I didn't think the decision to not pay him $13 million was bad. It was more just I feel like it just didn't come off like I don't know how the way the edit went. I just felt like it was very clear they had, like you said, they had no real intention of paying him above a certain threshold. And then he was probably wrong on the market because he was thinking maybe there was a chance, and then there was multiple teams offered him 10 plus, and he was as good as gone. And the Eagles thing, because we've said we don't fault him. I get it. Like if they don't offer you a contract, you're in a spot where it's a good team. You can literally stay in the house you're already in. Like you have kids, a wife,
literally
a girlfriend.
lives right there.
Yeah,
played college in that state.
He needs to stay in the house he currently lives in with his family. Like it makes a ton of sense.
And they are good.
Yeah, that's a good team. But all like,
I mean, hold on. Let's talk about the Eagles for a second.
I don't think they're very good.
Are we buying, like you saw how the Eagles ended last season? Do you think they lose their two leaders in Kelsey and Fletcher Cox, and they're going to come back and be better this year?
I think they'll be better than the Giants.
Well, yeah, that's not what we're talking about.
But if you're Saquon Barkley, you are, because that's who you're deciding between, right?
Oh yeah, but I'm saying full team as the Eagles, though, right? Like, think about it. They were 10-1 last year, and then they
disastrous finish
shit the bed. Do you believe it? Like Jalen Hurts has two of the best receivers right there in front of him, and they did not use them well. Like I don't know, and also losing those two is a huge loss. I don't know. I don't know if the Eagles are right in that conversation of like a Super Bowl contender.
I think the way to compare them is them and the Cowboys. So who do you take, the Cowboys or the Eagles?
Both are in tough spots right now.
Cowboys have all of their stars in contract negotiations now.
I would take the Eagles personally.
Is Dak and CD both in there negotiating?
Yeah.
And Micah wants a deal, but
Dak's a free. Like after the season, he'd be a free agent. Like
Dak has already said it's a real possibility he'll play for another team.
You could franchise him, but
he wants
it's
gonna
be giant number for quarterback to franchise.
Dak's getting $60 million a year. He'll be the first quarterback to get $60 million a year.
Jesus Christ!
Who would I take? It's hard not to go against Philly, but what I'll say is A.J. Brown. Remember how heated he was getting on the sidelines last year, and there was all these altercations on the sidelines, and then you bring in Saquon. A.J. Brown's going to get the ball less this year than he even got it last year.
That's
all these personalities going to be able to handle that. That's my biggest fear is can they handle it in Philly? In Dallas, you know who your stars are. Once CD's on the field, I think that deal gets done. Dak is going to be able to handle it. Like we know it's going to be Dak to CD. Micah's going to get 15-plus sacks. Like we know what Dallas is. As long as they get the contracts figured out, I think Dallas might be in a better place mentally.
Dallas should be, and they always just fuck it up somehow. That's
Jerry
the
Jones.
thing. where it's just Jerry Jones. Like you always are. We talked about it yesterday, I think, right, Ev? Like where it's like you just know they're gonna make the playoffs and lose right away.
I mean, they've just this core has done it every time.
Yeah.
And obviously, listen, everyone like doesn't do it till they do it. So there's kind of like I see that aspect of it. But it just kind of like you just keep running back the same thing, like hoping it's going to work. And after they give these 3 contracts, they're going to have zero money to spend on the rest of the roster.
Yeah, but
so the team is going to be as is pretty much.
That is
Either
true.
Draft well and develop. That's what they're going to have to do.
The Cowboys always have drafted well and developed. I mean, you look at like their first round picks. They've hit on some guys, some all pros. Look at offensive line. Dak, and what was that? A 4th round pick.
Even CD fell in the draft.
Yeah.
He wasn't the first receiver taken. I don't think.
I don't think he was.
Like
either.
Ruggs and some guy. Maybe did Judy go before him? Maybe.
I forget that draft, honestly.
There was a few guys. I'm pretty sure. I remember we went to that Big 12 championship game and saw him.
Yeah,
because Dallas at the time they didn't need a receiver. They had Amari Cooper at the time, and they drafted him just because he was like best player on the board.
He's top 4 in my opinion.
I think so.
Maybe
top
3. Like I think he's
3.
really fucking good.
Him and Tyreek,
Tyreek Jefferson.
We were saying like there should be a way to even just chart GMs, like the guys who nail even 3rd or 5th rounders, being around the league. Are there teams that are not the obvious ones that are like they got a really good GM, they're doing the right thing, that you've seen guys develop, or maybe you just talk to guys or guys you knew from college you played against, and it's like, oh, that guy turned into something you didn't expect it?
I would say, look, this is going to be the obvious one ever, but because the GM's so good and the head coach is so good and the quarterback's the best in the league, it's the Chiefs. The Chiefs, Brett Veach and the Chiefs have to do an unbelievable job. You look around, Patrick Mahomes last year was the first quarterback to make, I think it was 18 or 19% of the cap and win the Super Bowl because he had all those rookies around him. So they are actually, every year, the NFLPA rates like the teams on ownership, how they treat the family, how the locker rooms look, how the cafeteria is. The Chiefs are worst. They're like 30, 31, 32 every single year. So that just lets you know how good Veach, Reed, and Mahomes are. And then obviously adding Kelsey and Chris Jones. Like that 5 is carrying an organization. That's one you might not expect because you're like, oh, the Chiefs win every year. Because of those 3, not because of ownership. The other one I will say is the Cleveland Browns. As much as we like hate on the Browns and they've been a punching bag of the NFL, Andrew Berry, their GM, has this philosophy where you pay these big numbers. We obviously look at Deshaun as the prime example, and you add voided years on the back end to spread out signing bonus. So the Cleveland Browns last year have the most talent on the field money-wise than any other team because of how they use the accounting of the salary cap. That's why they can go to the playoffs with Joe Flacco as quarterback. No offense to Joe, but Joe stepped in there, and all of a sudden he's surrounded by talent and can still go to the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, the Browns are like, they should be very good this year. If Chubb comes back healthy, like week 4, I think they're saying, or week 5, whenever he comes back. Who did they add? Did they add somebody? Wide receiver or no?
Jerry Jeudy.
I don't know how he's going to be.
Cooper obviously still.
Yeah, Cooper's amazing.
All hinges on Deshaun. I mean, what Deshaun are we going to get? The Houston Texans Deshaun or the Cleveland Browns Deshaun?
100%.
That's exactly what.
And listen, he is all guaranteed money, so he doesn't really not playing for much.
And they have the best player probably in the NFL right now since Aaron Donald left and Myles Garrett. I mean,
he's fucking unbelievable.
That's what they have the building. They have the good defense and good offensive line. Like, it's hard to be bad when you have that.
Yeah. Who's the hardest person on defense that you've had to block?
Aaron Donald, not even close. But I remember, he's retired now, so I'll move to the next guy. I remember his rookie year going against Myles Garrett. I was at left guard. I wasn't playing left tackle, going against him every down. But I remember one time I went to try to take a little extra hit, help my left tackle out. I hit Myles Garrett. It was a fucking brick wall. I remember hitting him. I'm like, no, rookies aren't supposed to be like this. I called my agent. I was like, all right, man, we might have to figure out I might need to start doing media because these guys are getting out of control. That's Jalen Carter in Philadelphia is going to be special. He was a hell of a player. And then Dexter Lawrence, he's ascended and probably the best nose guard in the NFL right now.
That's good to hear.
So I have a question for you. Last year, you're on the couch. Giants call you, middle of the season. Come help us out. You do it. Same thing happens this year. What do you do?
Be tough.
They call you week 7. Hey, come help us out, Justin.
It depends. Last year, I wanted to get back in New York. Like, I love the Giants. I'm a New York guy through and through. I had other teams reach out. I had Philadelphia reach out to me last year asking if I wanted to sign a veteran minimum deal week 7. They're 7-0 at the time. Giants are 1-6. I went back to the Giants to prove, like, hey, I want to be back in New York City.
That's respect.
Things I want to do post-football career. I want to do some real estate. I want to do some media. There's only one place really in the world you can do that, and it's right here. They drafted me, gave me my shot. The Giants would be the one team I would do it for. I would be like, hey, I need a couple weeks.
Yeah.
I need to start eating a little bit more. I need to get the weight back up. But I think they have good depth this year. They just signed JVR. We talked about that earlier. They brought in Runyon. They brought in Illuminor. I think they have some really good pieces. There's not going to be as much pressure on Evan Neal, I think, this year because Illuminor can play right tackle. So if Evan Neal isn't 100% healthy, they have someone that can play that position. So if they call me, of course, we're going to have the conversation. I don't think many other teams would get me off the couch.
So the door isn't completely closed. It's just maybe getting close to closing.
Yeah, you can like barely. You crack it open.
There's some sunlight.
I got a 6-month-old daughter. You keep the door like this cracked. You can like hear if she cries. Like that's where we're at right now.
All right.
It's a lot easier to do this and enjoy. I enjoy this a lot more talking about football.
Yeah.
Were you on the team yet when Evan Neal had like the burgers incident with the media?
I had just gotten there when that happened. And the thing about Evan, and I'll say this, Evan's a great guy. He really is a great guy. He said I was built to play offensive tackle. It's learning how to play offensive tackle in New York City. That's a totally different scenario because I played in Arizona. You have 5 to 10 media people in there every day. You know them. You know it's on a first-name basis. You're in New York. You have 50 to 100. It is 10 times more than not any, because like Philadelphia and the Jets and everything. But there is a microscope to playing in New York. And if you're a young guy, grew up in Florida, not in like a big city, went to Alabama, it's not very big, not a lot of people, and come to New York, it is a culture shock. You saw it on Hard Knocks. It takes a special kind of player to play in New York City, and the Giants are cognizant of that. I just think Evan was struggling at that time and, lashed out. He apologized.
Yeah.
So I just wonder how how you handle that post, because I can understand it. You say you get emotional, you say something like, how is it dealing with, how do you think he handled it at least inside, afterwards?
He apologized to the team. He said, "Hey, I shouldn't I shouldn't have said that." The thing about New York is you look at the camera or whatever one's on, you're like, "Hey, I fucked up. I played a bad game." People in New York respect the hell out of you for owning up to it. We played the Saints. I played like shit. We just got our asses beat, knocked us out of the playoffs. I'm like, hey, I played a terrible game. Like I on third down, I didn't do what I was supposed to do. And people respect you more for that than anything. And that's where me being honest, like where I'm at, what I'm going through, that has always served me well. And a lot of times in New York, it's like, don't say anything. Don't give the fan base anything. I'm almost like, give them everything.
Yeah.
Show them your hand. It's like either you like me or you don't.
Right. Yeah.
And we'll figure it out.
As a New York fan, it's like when Aaron Boone will be like, we're right there. You've lost 8 games in a row. Just be like, we suck right now. We're got to be better. And I'll be like, yeah, let's go. Like, you're being honest. If you're being honest, listen, if you every game say, I suck right now, we're going to hate you after the 6th time. But like I'm saying, one time, just being honest with everybody, I think that's the best way to go. Or if you're really going to go off, maybe don't say anything. That's where you're
going to get fired. If you don't do your job in professional sports, you get fired. So, like, at 100%. The end of the day, if you let everyone know, like, hey, I'm going to the unemployment line if this doesn't go right.
Yeah.
People can respect that.
Respect it 100%.
We had Bobby Okereke in here a couple weeks ago, and he was saying he started his career with the Colts. Yeah. And he said that really helped him because he's like, all right, I could be kind of the young guy in Indianapolis. Wasn't as much cameras, wasn't as much media. And it helped to then go from there to New York, as opposed to, say, if it was switched around. He said it would have been really hard to be a rookie in New York City.
Yeah, he was saying like a 21-year-old going to New York City is not the easiest. It's a lot of distractions.
I almost didn't make it out.
Yeah.
I was a first-round pick in New York City, and there was a chance. There was a point in my career where I had to decide: do I want to play football or do I want to be out?
Yeah,
all the time. And I obviously made the decision to get my shit together, but. When you give a 21, 22-year-old and say, here's some money and here's New York City, and Bobby Okereke is a stud. Bobby Okereke is a stud. They should extend him now, get his deal tied up. I know they just signed him, but get it prorated out. Like he could free up some cap space with his contract. He'll be a Giant for the rest of his career.
Top 10 in tackles each of the last 3 years, and we saw him, and he's
ginormous.
I mean, but he's big but not imposing, but he's all muscle. Like he's
fast. He's fast.
Oh, incredible. Yeah.
He's one of those guys, first one in, last one out, leader of the defense. That's a guy. He when you prepare like he does, there's no wonder why he succeeds on the field because he knows I put in all the work and he has the talent.
Yeah. I truly don't know how anyone gets drafted to the Giants or something. When we were talking to Zach Gallen and these guys from the Arizona Diamondbacks, and they went to the World Series, and they were like, yeah, no one really even knows we have a team.
No, I guarantee you, because I live in Phoenix, if he went out to the nicest steakhouse, no one would stop him.
No one would say a word.
When you think Arizona, people still think Larry Fitzgerald plays for the Cardinals. People are like, oh yeah, Cardinals, Larry Fitzgerald, right? He's still playing for that team.
I think some Cardinals can walk around too. I obviously Kyler Murray can't. When you're a quarterback, people, especially him, people know who you are and stuff. But when you're out there, even when I go to LA, they don't watch sports. They watch it like it's at 4:00. The Yankees are playing. No one's watching them, or like the Giants or whatever. It's crazy.
Well, they're going for a hike. They're going down to the beach.
There's so much to do, and the weather's always nice. I mean,
up here, no one knows the struggle of being up here. Like we're like,
We don't do anything.
till 7 o'clock.
We have no hobbies.
I do like how Marty was like, nobody's watching the Yankees game or the Giants at 4
Right,
o'clock
in Los
California.
Angeles. I know.
Yeah, but I'm saying that I'm watching the Lakers at 10. I'm watching.
They watch soccer.
That's because you're a degenerate and you're
invested.
like trying to win your money back on the late game. So that's a different
Basically, yeah.
scenario.
Basically,
They like
But-
soccer.
Ooh,
LA
L.A.
loves.
Really?
Fascinated by soccer.
Yeah. What, Rico? What do you say about soccer?
Waste of grass.
They got to put turf in all the stadiums now.
Waste of turf. 6-letter sports.
The,
I'm really out on all 6-letter sports. Tennis, squash, hockey, soccer.
I'm trying to count football
trying-
real quick.
I was giving you
Good on that.
longer
We're good
than
on that.
those
Yeah,
nuts.
we're good on that.
Is the MetLife turf actually as bad as they say?
They've changed it. I mean, think about this. If you're an owner and your team's worth billions of dollars and you're paying 25% of your salary cap to a quarterback, do you really want him to blow his Achilles out 4 plays into a game?
No,
Oh, you really don't?
they don't. As a Jets fan, no, we don't.
So, like, they're going to do whatever they can. Like, to save $100,000 or even $1 million to not install turf, it doesn't make any sense to me. So I think if the science is so overwhelming that we need to have grass, every team will go grass. I just don't know, and this is I'm not an expert in this, how much of a difference percentage-wise of injury it makes. I think there's a slight difference, and there's a slight increase in injury on turf versus grass. So I think eventually we'll get there, but how hard it is to take care of it. When it's muddy and it's not like real grass, how hard is it to take care of? What's the injury rate on a muddy? I think of like the Oakland Raiders trying to do the baseball and football at one. That was a shit show. Just throw down turf and let's roll.
It hurts them for concerts and shit too. Like you can wheel out the turf now. They got a concert series. You can pull shit back. With grass, it's harder to do that.
Yeah, like the
That
City Field
matters,
outfield
too.
right now is
100%. They're
Dirt.
It's a business. So
Remember the Arizona Super Bowl where everyone
Yep.
was going crazy on the turf because it was too slick
Oh,
up?
yeah,
and-
yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So
They put in new. There was turf they hadn't used before, right? Like it was different than they had.
Yeah, it was like slick, right? Is what you're saying?
Don't you think that every team should just have the same exact thing? Like, why
if you're inside, yeah, like hey, have the same synthetic turf. There should be a standard across
that's
it.
a good point.
why isn't like it should be exactly if you're in like a dome team, you should have everyone like this is a turf you're getting, so it's the same for everybody.
It starts to change like the foundation of football. Like, should you force the Bills to have an indoor stadium? Should you force the Cleveland Browns? Should you that starts getting like you love the game because they play in 6 inches of snow or it's pouring rain.
Yeah.
We're still out there.
I actually think
As a fan, as a gambler, you hate that. You hate anything that is going to mess with the outcome.
But I think you can control it because it's like if you have turf, this is the rule. You don't need to put in grass. Like if you have grass, you have grass. But if you go to turf, there's an addendum. Everyone's got to have the same kind of synthetic turf.
yeah, I agree.
Same company.
Did you
same-
care when you played? Like it was like, oh, I'm playing in the grass, or playing on turf. Like,
It didn't make the biggest difference to me, honestly. I'm not running and making cuts. I'm blocking the defensive lineman. I liked it when it was like
Backwards,
when the field was in worse condition. It was better for me because the D lineman's get off wasn't as good. So I kind of like the shitty field conditions. The one thing I will say is there should be a standard for like locker rooms at every away stadium. So when I know I'm going to play like the Raiders or I'm going to play, I don't know, insert any team, Tampa Bay Bucks. I know what I'm getting because we would go play the Saints. And literally, we would be using trash cans as hot tubs before the game. Like they would fill up hot water in trash cans, and that's we use kiddie pools.
serious?
Yes, the Saints was by far the worst.
Really?
Commanders was terrible. Old San Diego Chargers was god awful. So there needs to be a standard for like how to get ready for a game because your home locker room, you got the hot tubs, the cold
Right.
tubs, you got changing like tables where you can get stretched out on, get PT. Away locker rooms is like put all 53 of us in this room and figure it out.
that's a union issue because I know like baseball, for instance, they have like things in the CBA saying like, listen, you have to have so many amenities in home and visiting. Did you ever have problems with the union? And everyone kind of trashes the NFL players union a little bit, like, oh, you guys don't have guaranteed contracts. You don't have seen some of the other things they have in other sports. Did you ever have any issues with dealing with the union when you were playing?
No, so I've been a union rep for the last 8 years. The thing about it, the players hate on it sometimes. The players are the union. Like it's as good or as bad as the players make it. We vote for the guys that are in control. There's been a lot of back and forth, and I couldn't compare. I don't know the MLB or NBA as well. We're the highest grossing sport in North America. We're the most popular sport. We make more money than Now, look, less basketball players, they'll like their highest paid players make more, but we are the biggest sport. We make everything go.
Yeah.
So I would take our union against any other professional leagues. You look at baseball, they have arbitration. You have guys that don't get contracts till they're 30 years old. The NFL has 100% risk of injury. There's some different things that happen there. I really think if you compared on a sheet all the real true nuances of the CBAs, I think the NFL would still come out on top. I don't think anyone knows it well enough to have that conversation, and I certainly don't.
No, it's true. That right there, like, baseball players don't get a contract till they're 30. Like
a free agency. They get, yeah.
But how hard is it to get free agency in baseball?
You have to have 6 years service time.
Well, and the way they can milk you, they can wait to call you up a certain time in the season.
What they do is illegal.
You can manipulate the service time, and they do.
Year.
We saw it with Skeens even this year, potentially.
You can argue that what baseball does is essentially illegal with that. They're willingly not putting the best product on the field.
Correct.
Because they have a prospect and they don't want that clock to start.
Right.
100%.
Imagine if you had a farm system and they were like, we got an offensive lineman, he's killing it. And it's like, yeah, but we don't want his clock to start.
Yeah, we'll play him week 4. We're not going to play him.
That's what they're it's literally knowingly not putting the best product on the field. That's what they do in baseball.
Not being the biggest baseball fan, how do you guys feel about the salary cap and not having one? So not all the teams are equal. You have like the Oakland A's are out there. I don't know what they're going to become now. They're like Sacramento A's. Like they don't field a great team every year. How do you feel about that as a fan?
The issue isn't a salary cap. The issue is a salary floor. So the problem is you allow these teams. That's what baseball really needs. And a salary cap for sure. If you look back since 2018, every team that's won the World Series has been top 10 in the league in spending. That's not an accident. The problem is you have teams like the Guardians, you have teams like the A's, the Rays that take this revenue sharing, put it back in their pocket, and they're not reinvesting it in the team, which is supposed to. So, yeah, I would like to see a salary floor, especially. I know the Players Union does as well. But the owners come back and say, all right, we do a salary floor, then we're doing a salary cap. And I understand why the players are like, well, fuck, we're not doing that. So that unfortunately has been going on since 1994. But yeah, you're right. There's a lot of teams. I would say there's like 6, 7, 8 baseball teams that are intentionally not putting the best product on the field so they can put for the Guardians last year, Forbes had a report, $53 million in profit. They just put right back in their pocket.
And that's not good for fans. I mean, at the end of the day, what's the product we're looking for? If I live in Cleveland, I'm pissed that the team is not doing everything. And that's how teams leave. I'm in Arizona right now.
Fighting with Cleveland right now. So.
Yeah, I am fighting with Cleveland.
Coyotes just left and went to Utah because the owners fucked around and found out. And look, Arizona might not be the best hockey town out there, but when you lose a professional sports team, that hurts the fans.
Oh, my God. It's the worst thing that can happen to a fan, right?
Yeah.
Like, think about it. Like, there's still, if you find some old people in Brooklyn, go ask them about the Dodgers. Their face falls. Like, that is with you forever. If the team that you grew up watching leaves, can you imagine if the Giants left? No. Never going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, can you imagine how heartbreaking that would be?
A lot of jobs for the city, too. That area.
It's like
there's parking revenue every night. Yeah.
Restaurants, bars,
bars,
people coming into town, hotels.
Well, that's the new thing. All of these stadiums are now being built with apartments around it, the casino next door, the shopping. I mean, it's becoming a full destination.
Yeah, it's like a full experience.
I hate to say, I think Philly was one of the first ones to do it with their downtown, the Xfinity Live they had. It was a good setup.
Philly does have actually a pretty good thing.
It's just insane they have they're all just next to each other.
That's great too.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Like go to a Phillies game and then come right over to an Eagles game. That's pretty good.
Just the fact that we're talking, like, we have football tonight. Like, we have the Hall of Fame game tonight, even though Caleb's not playing. How do you feel about that? Because I was actually
Caleb's not playing tonight?
No, he's
no starters for the Bears are playing.
No starters.
It's tough because they're playing an extra preseason game than everyone else.
Right.
So I understand the logic.
Okay, I get
they
it.
Play
so
it's the fourth.
The Hall of Fame game,
Right.
if you're in that game, you get an extra preseason game.
That game's not my favorite. I played in that game when Michael Strahan got inducted. Adding an extra preseason game, I don't care how many, since we even dropped one off at the end of the preseason. I don't love that.
No, of course.
But to honor the Hall of Famer going in, I get it. Like for Strahan, I'll go play a game for Strahan. He's the OG.
So my question is, because Aaron Rodgers kind of even said he's like I'm gonna be honest, I would like to play some preseason games. Like there used to be starters 1 quarter of the first game, then 2 quarters, then 3 quarters, and then the full game. I don't think people need to be playing full games anymore, but I do think that meant something to players to get a little bit of reps in before a game. Before the first game, coming off rusty, especially as a rookie.
You need to get out there and get reps. I'll even say this because the first game I came out against the Buffalo Bills, I've been playing 11 years. We go to the Bills last year, and I was on the team for a week. It's my helmet didn't even fit right. I didn't know what the pregame routine looked like. We get into a huddle, and you call vanilla plays, just go hit the guy across from you and kind of get used to, having your pads on. Tyrod Taylor calls a play. I didn't even know what the play was because it wasn't on the install for the week, but it was like day 1 install in training camp. And I paused the huddle and I'm like, hey, I don't know what this play is. That's when we knew shit was going to be bad.
It's got to be a wild moment for everyone else.
Still almost beat him. Almost beat him.
Yeah.
Should have beat him.
Should have beat
him. Darren Waller, he got held. I mean, come on.
Yeah, he did.
But that needs to be worked out in the preseason. Like what I went through in the first game of the season, that needs to be worked out. You need to know where we get lined up, where we're going to do pregame run through, and that's where this first preseason game will be good. Caleb has to play in the preseason.
I think he has to too. That's even that's what we talked about when Baker came in for the Rams on 2 days. As a quarterback too, I think that's fucking insane. I don't think people realize how much goes into a game plan for football as well. I don't think I'd ever, for many reasons, play football, but remembering all the plays, no chance.
The playbooks look so thick on TV.
It's just as much to remember on defense as well. I played D3, but it's just as much.
Well, playbook's a playbook. Yeah. Honestly, you still got to get guys running the plays. I mean, it's just
where did that
because I
have to say.
Yeah.
You guys helicopter to games?
No, we didn't helicopter to games. Buses straight up.
He was asking every week, though.
Yeah, it was.
That's where it all started.
Exactly.
Bus.
Yeah, exactly.
On Hard Knocks, when on the Giants one, they had Drake May and Caleb Williams, all of them come in hey, call this play, and they're saying 4,000 different things. You're like, holy shit, what the fuck are they talking?
It's great because really each one for them was it's for almost each position group.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
What it is.
And that's played high school.
Hey, no big deal.
I played 8th grade. So.
I saw a Pop Warner game once.
What a lot of teams do now is they'll just put one-worders. Just remember a one-worder. You say, fruit punch. That means, hey, we're running this play to the right.
Yeah.
Everyone has to know what their play is within that. So that's how a lot of teams are getting around it now instead of having the full play called out.
Yeah, that would make it a lot easier.
To the quarterback, because you have to know every single thing.
Quarterbacks know everyone.
I remember
you
playing
gotta
high
know.
school. It's you get this, you're all right, that's I'm gonna stop listening halfway through because I'm I got my cue, I'm good.
Yeah,
that's why they're giving them $60 million. They sell jerseys and they remember all the plays. Give them $60 million.
So I got a question. You're a Giants. You were on the Giants last year, but this year on the other side, kind of doing the media thing. Where do you see the Giants this year? You got 3 Giants fans here. I'm the only Jets fan. Where do you see the Giants finishing this year? How do you see the season going for them?
There's
a big year for the quarterback.
There's no reason they can't get back into the playoffs. I mean, as crazy as last year was, let's look at the NFC. We could go through division by division and see where it stacks up. Last year, we beat the Green Bay Packers on Monday Night Football. We go to the Saints. We beat the Saints. We probably make the wild card last year with Tyrod, then Tommy DeVito, then back to Tyrod, losing almost.
What's that Bills game we just talked about? That was a coin flip.
We lost to the Jets last year.
A coin flip. We shouldn't have lost that.
There was a 99% chance we won that game, and we missed the kick. And then,
neither team deserved to win that game, but you're right.
You're right. We didn't throw the ball the entire second half of the game, and we still should have won. So you get Daniel Jones back. He took them to the playoffs 2 years ago. O-line's improved. They have a top 5 defensive line in the NFL. You have Bobby Okereke. You don't even need a secondary.
Adding Burns is crazy to that.
Dexter Lawrence is already probably the best nose guard in football. Whoever the 3 tech is, which is probably was Leonard Williams, which is I wish he was still on the team right now. But you have Nacho that'll be there. You have Jordan Phillips who will rotate in. I think the Giants D-line is going to make or break the season. That's how the Giants have always won. I think there's no reason they can't get into the wild card. But if I'm going to say who's going to come out of the NFC, how do you go against San Francisco?
Yeah, no, they really. There's no. I don't understand how they don't get to the Super Bowl again.
Can they win it though?
No, I don't think they can.
It's not even their fault. Patrick Mahomes is just.
It's just Patrick Mahomes. I saw a stat yesterday because when we always talk about he's I think 17-13 when the other team scores 28 points. That's insane.
Yeah.
That everyone's always oh, their defense, this, blah, blah. The other team's scoring 28 points, and he has a winning record. That's crazy.
Plus, they got that kid. Who's the kid from Texas?
Worthy
that runs a 4-1 or
Yeah,
4.
Hey, hold on.
They're going to figure out a way to find something for him. He's going to be running across on a drag.
He got manhandled yesterday by.
Oh, I saw
you see
that. Yeah, I seen that.
It was also, and I know we talked about the draft. I wasn't, and it was on this. I didn't love him coming out, but if Andy Reid likes him, then
the Chiefs will.
It's
they'll find a way to get him empty in space, and you're like, what the fuck? And here he goes.
The way they find it is they have Hollywood Brown.
Yep.
There's another guy.
That's the sleeper of the whole thing.
Fucking
He's gonna be
4-2.
an animal,
dude. They weren't. You look at their offense last year. It's not a very good offense. Travis Kelce is really good. obviously. Patrick Holmes is the best. After that, they didn't. Rashee Rice was the fucking best.
MVS.
And MVS. And supposedly MVS, there's reports coming out that he might be like the fourth option on the Bills. They're talking about he's been awful in camp. I just saw that today.
I mean, he's always been like hit or miss. Just the
But
hands.
that's what I'm saying. That's how good this fucking team is. Like we say about drafting guys. Pacheco, 7th round. The way they develop them, the way they call plays, it really does matter what system you go into. Because we were talking, what was it? Who were we talking about? Like, we're talking about Ben Simmons. But like, is there a quarterback or another person that went into a different system? Do you think they would have been a good quarterback?
Like look across the town. The Jets have had guys just in bad situations to start.
On the flip side, though, they haven't. I mean, other
Zach
than Geno
Wilson.
Smith, though, these guys didn't have success. Though. Like Zach Wilson.
I'm just saying,
He's getting paid.
Right.
But we don't know. We don't know yet. Like Sam Darnold.
I would say Geno has had.
Other than Geno's had success, but like
Geno's had success, but the
Darnold
other two,
hasn't.
yeah.
We have Darnold.
Hackett. I mean,
Darnold hasn't had a chance yet.
Hackenberg hasn't even played.
Well, that guy.
This is a bad draft.
I don't know if that was ever.
Right. That was just
Hackenberg
stupid on us.
was one of the worst picks because that State Penn didn't throw the ball all the time, and he had like 28 or 35 interceptions in college. Yeah. So that was a red flag, and they took him in the 2nd round. That was a bad one.
Also, his best season was his freshman year.
Yeah, that was a bad one.
What about a guy like J.J. McCarthy who goes to the Vikings? Michigan wasn't a pass-happy offense, as everyone knows. Did you think similar outcome there? I mean, you have JJ, you have Justin Jefferson.
That's the
to throw
thing.
it up
He
to.
at least has like somebody, the best guy in the league to just kind of throw it up to. Like that's kind of like what Will Levis did last year. He like at one point realized I have DeAndre Hopkins. Let me just throw it up and he'll get it. He'll probably.
That's what we did in Arizona. It was like fuck it, D-Hop's down there.
Yeah, dude.
Throw it up.
He's so good.
You think the book closes on these guys a little too quick? Like you're saying, J.J. McCarthy, like a lot of these guys don't get a second chance sometimes, or they get a second chance, but they're a backup, and then it's like it's few and far in between guys who've resurrected their careers. Baker, Geno Smith. I'm trying to think of
Alex Smith,
Tannehill, like to a degree. Yeah,
I think a lot of.
But it's if they start for you in the first 3 years at the place you go when you get drafted, and they decide and it's a bad situation if they draft you high. You're running for your life. If you have a bad offensive line, you're getting sacked. You don't have receivers. You might not have weapons. They're in a complete rebuild.
Talking about Daniel Jones, you are honestly.
Most young quarterbacks are not going into a good situation.
They're not going to a situation. Yeah,
but Caleb Williams is actually one of the few guys that's going into a very good situation as a quarterback. At the end of the day, a GM and head coach, their reputation, their job, their livelihood depends on that position. And are you going to go down swinging with a guy of your choosing, who you're going to draft or who you're going to sign, or are you going to pick up someone else's that you saw he didn't win games?
Right.
It's hard to put your career in the hands of that guy.
That's where it seems like the book closes a little bit, right? But you're right. You'd rather die with your own guys.
Right now, the people think Bryce Young is dog shit. They think he's the worst quarterback. His team is one of the worst teams I've seen in quite some time.
Terrible.
Like
I'm trying to think of guys on that team. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Like Thielen was
his one receiver.
Adam Thielen.
And then they drafted Leggett,
Johnson.
And they traded for Johnson. They drafted Leggett, who I liked.
Yeah.
Well, they're starting.
They signed 2 like high level guards, that like big money guards. So I think they've tried to improve it.
Trying, but I'm saying like last
year's roster was abysmal.
They had no pick.
Yeah, no pick.
Right, and they would have had the number 1 pick, and
I hate trading away the haul to move up in the draft for a quarterback. I hate doing it. You look at throughout the years, every time it's happened, like RG3, Carson Wentz, and you look at the end of the day when they go back and do like a peek back of the trade, it's always like 7 guys for 1 player.
Yep.
I hate it.
And I mean the Giants.
Go back to Randall Cunningham. It changed the whole organization of the Cowboys. That's one of them in the Super Bowls. It's crazy.
The Giants were kind of talking about that in the last episode of
Herschel Walker's.
We go up to get Drake May. Do we try and go up a little bit? They're like, no, you know what? Let's just stay here. We're gonna get our guy, and I think they did exactly what they needed to do.
But it did sound like they would have.
No, I think they would have
made like a real offer if the Patriots were willing to play ball, but they need a quarterback so bad.
Yeah. No, it's very interesting with that.
So in the NFL, we know we're getting replaced. Like the day you get drafted, they're trying to replace you, and to see it happen live on TV and Hard Knocks when you're Daniel Jones has to suck. How would you guys feel in your business when you're doing your show? I mean, there's competition like crazy in this space too.
Yeah.
How do you guys compare the two of like, hey, there's this new up and coming young guy that knows what he's talking about, knows what he's doing. How is that?
I wouldn't.
I haven't experienced that at this place. There's not one guy that they always hang over your head.
That is the thing. We are probably the closest thing to a company where like we're very public about how you're doing your job. Very public. And yes, they dangle someone over his head all the time. Like every week, something. Literally, 5 minutes before the show, he got yelled at about the helicopter.
Yeah,
but I get
your point.
Like you see,
that's a good way to be put. You from the day you come into the NFL, you're trying to be replaced.
Second, right away.
Because we're all going to ask for more money. Once you're here, like I've been here for a year, I've been here for 5 years, I've been here for 10. I should get more. And they're like, well, fuck it, we'll just go with this young guy. We'll see what he can do for vet minimum. And not many people in outside of professional sports gets that.
Yeah,
I think you guys get it a little bit because, just like you said, you guys are so public about it. The fan base is so rabid about consuming this content. I don't know. You guys are an anomaly too.
Yeah, it's close.
And Dave runs it like we're under contract, so we have contracts. So Dave kind of runs it like a sports team, like we're playing for our next contract.
Yeah, you have like a prove it deal.
Yeah,
like it's kind of closest you could probably get in a business.
My first year my first contract I signed with him even had a team option. So it was for real.
This is the media team.
Yeah. No, yeah, but I think Rico, you had a good point where it's. People do close a chapter.
Close the book on them real quick.
It all depends on what the narrative is also about that guy, you know? Like, I think I'm not trying to bring him up every time I talk about quarterback. Like Justin Herbert, he has all the talent in the world, but the book's wide open on him still. They think that he can do it.
Yeah.
Trevor
Lawrence. Yeah, I was going to say the same boat.
Trevor Lawrence is kind of getting that in the sense of people are all like, he kind of stinks now. What I don't think so, but his book is kind of closing quicker than I thought. You guys, do you agree with that or no?
I don't know if it's quite.
He's got a book.
I'm saying more. I'm saying more of media perspective. Yeah, narrative. Because like he's kind of him and Justin Herbert are in the same boat in my opinion.
Lawrence, I think it's even different because he was the like Elway, Peyton Manning, like this guy can't miss, guaranteed gold jacket kind of guy.
Yeah.
And you've definitely seen some of it, but you also, like, last year he struggled some. Team didn't make the playoffs after they win a playoff game the year before.
Yep.
But he's in that word. He hasn't shown that, like, oh, he's going to be, like, best quarterback in the league.
I say it all the time. We've said it a bunch of times here. There's guys in the club, in the elite club. He's still waiting outside by the red rope.
100%.
He's not in the elite club yet.
100%.
I'll be the non-Giants guy here too. I mean, look, Daniel Jones. I just look it up: 22-36 lifetime. Like, how much more book do you need to see?
Well, let me ask you
now.
The book, though, what we're talking about
Trevor Lawrence compared to him stats wise.
Yeah,
it's crazy. They're like identical. It's crazy.
Well, let me ask you about the book though, right? Like, literally, he had no one to throw to for a long time.
Correct.
He hasn't had a number one receiver. Ever.
This year will be the first time.
Like he had Saquon is great, but like
that's not a receiver.
It's not a receiver. Yeah. We literally didn't have. We had. I think we didn't even really have a number two receiver.
All right, so let's say Jones has another tough year this year. At that point, then do we close the book?
Yeah, you close the book.
Yeah, he's playing for his career this year.
This is it,
and he knows it.
Yeah, he got hurt last year was kind of like, all right, this is the year. Then he got hurt, which is not good. And this is the year where
I will say he's only 27. You think about Daniel Jones, I feel like he's been around forever just because he kind of has been in some ways, but he's only 27. And the quarterbacks can, Rich Gannon, you go through the list, quarterbacks can, Alex Smith, we talked about, like, can mature later. It's not like a running back where you're by 27, it's like, oh shit, this guy's kind of on the.
He looks good this year. He's strong. 45 minutes I was in his ear about the Giants this year. 45 minutes. He didn't.
Poor guy. He must have tried to get away from you.
I was so angry with him.
Fuck out of this. Wait for this weird bearded guy.
Why is this fucking guy talking to me right now?
I liked I watched it last night. The last episode, he's like telling neighbors, like, when you see this, run this.
Yeah, it feels good.
A little fire in him.
Yeah, it feels great.
It's funny. Just our side, obviously, got to talk to him. Our side, you see kind of this like, aw shucks, like the Dockers has a little like Eli in him with that kind of like. Not showing a ton of personality, but I like seeing a little like fire from him, just like talking to the guys, like, "Hey, this."
He's good.
Neighbors.
He's got the dog in him, man. He does, and that's one of the guys I'd be like, "Yo, go be yourself to the media. Don't let them dictate. You don't have to be." It was always like, "Come be the Eli Manning reincarnated." I'm like, you don't have to be that. Be Daniel Jones, and that's where I think if he could let that loose this year, he has the ability.
He's as a person,
$40 million.
$40 million.
As a guy,
as a guy,
great
he's
guy.
The boy.
The players speak highly of him.
Everyone loves him in that.
They definitely do.
You have to also acknowledge he's kind of handled it. He's getting shit on nonstop.
He seems to handle it really well. Like look at like on the flip side, look at like Zach Wilson with the Jets. Like you heard a lot of stuff out of the locker room. It wasn't the best teammate. You never heard that about Daniel Jones.
Not a
ever.
word bad about him, and he's gotten it pretty bad for a guy who also has not been the greatest position. But that's what you get in New York. If you're not winning, you get shit on right away.
Yeah,
that's what happens.
That's how it goes.
Also, I almost think it hurt him. That first game, he was so good. That Tampa game,
dude,
he was
so
unbelievable.
Good. And
I remember it was when we still had Barstool Radio. I remember Dave called me in and was like, right now, it was the year, or I guess it was the year before Lawrence got drafted, and he was like, would you give away Daniel Jones right now for Lawrence? And I remember I was like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know if I would right now.
Yeah,
because I would have 4 touchdowns. They come back and win.
Yep.
He's running everywhere.
When he's running and not fumbling is when he's like on the move. It's just like that's where he's his best. So.
2 years ago, he ran awesome.
But this year,
700-800 rushing yards.
This year, just with a number one, and hopefully Hyatt becomes a guy that like gets opened up now when Malik Neighbor's there, and then Slayton, like he kind of has.
I was gonna say the number 2 thing. Slayton's always been a guy that's produced for the New York.
Always,
Giants.
yeah,
always been that guy. And I will say this: like Daniel Jones, you guys didn't say it because I'm sitting right here, but the offensive line last year, we didn't do our job.
Oh, you guys stunk, yeah.
Yeah, we were struggling. We were
having Andrew Thomas hurt a lot.
Oh, I mean, they
I saw
bring a guy in off the couch.
The Giants last year, I think it was 6 or 7.
They didn't have many options.
Hey, they had they had a fucking helicopter pick me up.
I saw it say it was last year when Thomas played. They had like 6 or 7 more points a game.
He got hurt in week 1.
Yeah, he missed
Giants
almost like
season,
the first half of the season, basically.
Yeah,
almost ended week 1 with the Cowboys. That was just a disaster. And then there was a Seattle one where there was like a pick 6 that kind of ended.
Yeah, that was tough.
Ended a lot of the
We were streaming that. That was.
Yeah, it wasn't.
That one hurt.
That wasn't.
That was a tough one when you're defending Daniel Jones and someone else is shitting on him, and then that pick 6 happened. It was
no, it wasn't good.
Well, look, tail between your legs.
We have 2 games, not easy, but 2 very winnable games to start the season.
Open the year.
Start 2-0. We're all back in.
Yeah, I mean, you got to go get 9 to make the playoffs. If you start with 2, it's a great start.
Great start.
That's how it works.
Good news, the NFC is very weak. If you get 9, you might get in.
The schedule gets a
might
little
get
harder after the next 6 games are very.
The Giants also been the Kings last like 6-7 years of starting like 1-4,
Right?
1-5, and then they finish like 7-10. But you're
I
just.
don't think we've won the first game in a long time.
It was the Titans 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
That
yeah,
crazy
yeah.
Go for 2.
comeback.
Didn't he go for 2?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
They won
back.
for 2.
Well, that team 2 years ago, they were like the comeback. They were down so much in the second half and came back and won games.
My question to everybody, we've talked about this, but Justin too. I'm big in. I think the Texans regress a little bit this year. I know they got better. I think that it's just that second year quarterback, more film. That's my team that I think regresses. Do you have another team that you think regresses at all?
I hope he says who I'm thinking.
Ravens.
Okay.
Okay.
Ravens
that's
lost.
good.
Interesting.
Ravens lost 3 starters on the offensive line. You bring in Derrick Henry, which is, don't get me wrong, he's one of the best ever. But you bring in a 31-year-old running back. He is maybe the anomaly, but they already were good at running the ball. They were already like one of the best running.
Whoever was back.
The one thing that the Ravens couldn't do was throw the ball to win a game in the playoffs. And maybe they got away from the run early. I think the Ravens regress a little bit. I think that division's gotten better.
Division's frightening.
Cincinnati's
Really
got Burrow
good.
back. They got to get Jamar Chase figured out, his contract. The Browns, I think the Browns are going to be better. I think the Browns win the AFC North. My take this year is Browns win the AFC North.
with you.
And then you have the Steelers.
Who never bottom out. They could be the worst team in that division and be 7-10. They will never bottom out and be 4 and.
They don't even have a losing record. They don't even go.
You also
8-9.
have to admit they got better at quarterback. No matter what, they got
Made the
better.
playoffs.
They're always going to take a
Won
game.
10 games last year.
I'm
They'll
saying
play 6 division games. They'll go 3 and they'll somehow steal 3. Yeah.
They'll have no chance. They'll be like limping out there.
Right.
But TJ Watt will have a strip sack for a touchdown.
Yep.
And something will happen.
I weirdly think Russ is going to be like kind of good for him.
This Pittsburgh team reminds me of that Seattle team where
Yeah.
they won with. It's like, hey, Russ, don't fuck it up. Don't be Mr. Unlimited. Get the ball out while you're supposed to get it out. And let the defense make plays. They made the playoffs last year with no quarterback.
And no TJ Watt for a while.
Yeah.
And they also added Patrick Queen, who's I think is fucking really good on the defensive
Ravens
side.
lost him. They lost
Yeah.
Geno Stone, one of the starting safeties. The Ravens fans always come after me because with Lamar, you will win games. I just don't think they're going to be.
I don't hate that answer
They're
at
going to be
all.
saying they're going to win the Super Bowl.
I thought you were going to say the Bills.
I think they're going to be good.
I do too. They're the team I think everyone thinks they're going to regress, and I don't think they are at all.
I don't think Diggs was I don't think that relationship was very good. I think that Josh Allen's going to have he's always has a good year, but I think the Bills are going to be very good.
AFC East is stacked.
Yeah,
AFC is stacked.
3 of the teams.
AFC is
That's the thing with even the Steelers. Like, you make it the playoffs. What's the real ceiling with a team like that? Because you tell me you got to go through Jackson, Mahomes, and Burrow, or Rodgers, Allen, in that kind of combination of the playoffs on the road. No chance.
No chance.
I just said Jackson Mahomes, so I was like, "The fuck you talking about?"
Oh, no. How did I fuck that up?
Lamar
Lamar Jackson.
Right,
There's a comma.
Comma. Pause.
Yeah, pause.
Here, Jax, Lamar's kind of owned like you just say Lamar, you just know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or like Kobe,
But-
it's like Lamar.
Yeah. You have Bills? Do you have anybody?
I think Tampa. I know that division's very weak, but I'm
Division.
I'm high on Atlanta. I know Rico is too.
We love it. I think Atlanta's the most fun team like out there right now.
So can we talk about we'll come back to it. I want to talk about why did they draft a quarterback, but let's finish this conversation first.
No, I just think that Tampa, a lot of things went right for them. They still, what did they go? I'm looking 9-8 last year, so it wasn't like they were that great anyway. And I just feel like that roster. Although I will say this though, in fairness, I thought the Bucs would stink last year, and they were.
Well,
they made the
everyone
playoffs.
doubts my guy, and he's a good quarterback.
It might not. He might need more than just him. Especially if Atlanta actually is good this year. Then 9-8 might not be enough.
Who do you think regresses, Ev?
I was thinking even team that I want to say because I really do like them is maybe even like Detroit a little bit. Like, and I love Campbell. Like, I like the roll in the dice. Like, they have a good offensive line, which is why I don't. The defense scares me sometimes.
Good division too.
Green Bay's going to be better.
Shootouts, and I don't know how sustainable that can always be.
Bears are going to be better.
I like them as a team, and I like Jared Goff. So
I do have a team in that division where everyone is very high on them, and he's the Packers. Do you think that they have any chance? Like, is Jordan Love going to be as good as he's been? Like, I feel like we've crowned him as like a great quarterback already, which he is good, but I don't know. There's not a huge.
He had 8 fantastic games.
Yeah.
8 fantastic games. Went into Dallas, beat Dallas. I think it was more Dallas kind of shitting down their leg more than
the beginning of the season. They were calling him the most inaccurate quarterback of all.
He was at that point statistically.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Where it's like I feel like he got his money. We're giving him this contract. We're giving him this crown. They're still a young team, right?
Youngest roster in NFL last year.
Wide receivers
are super young, but I kind of like
Defense is super young.
No, I know.
They're all growing together.
That's what I'm saying. I just feel like I could see them regress a little bit this year.
a similar philosophy to like the Texans. And the thing about the Texans, I actually agree with you on the Texans. Everyone is so high on them.
Super Bowl high, like
Yes, they are. They're getting a little Super Bowl action.
You add Diggs into the equation. Diggs hasn't ended well with any team he's been on so far. So I don't know how that's going to go because Nico Collins is your clear-cut one. You have Tank Dell, who everyone's talking about. You have Joe Mixon, and then you bring in Stephon Diggs. I don't know how he's going to respond either. Similar to like the A.J. Brown, kind of comparison. Like if one receivers are divas, all of them are divas. You just got to put up with it. That's what receivers are. And if he's not getting the ball and they're like, hey, no, Nico Collins is our one, how's he going to handle that? He didn't handle it well in Buffalo.
Right.
I think Nico Collins is going to put up insane numbers. I've looked at some of their props of like him scoring the most receiving touchdowns. I think he's going to go nuts this year. He got his money too.
Yeah,
he did.
He got a contract. He deserved it. He's a guy that they definitely become but that's why he was like a 4th round pick. Like he's had to kind of earn this spot.
Yeah,
being a high paid guy.
And they had probably one of the best left tackles in football, Laramie Tunsil.
Yep.
He should have been the number 1 overall pick besides the whole weed mass thing.
I still go as a Giants fan. I still I lose sleep over that. That was
Who would they take instead of him?
Eli Apple. Excuse me.
Oof.
Oh man!
And I was at Ohio State at the time.
Oh no!
But at the
Even
time,
as an Ohio State fan, I was going to college as a big Giants fan. They took him, and I was like, oh, like that.
at the time, the weed mass thing was like the number one.
I knew they wouldn't because that's just how
obviously
the Giants
doesn't
operate.
matter.
I knew they wouldn't take him, and that was why they didn't get Ronnie. They probably would have got Ronnie Stanley is what would have happened. He's had a great career.
There's nothing worse than talking about what we could have done.
I think about that draft all the time.
You brought it
Every night.
No, because the snowball effect of the Giants, they were in a. I know. Then I think they were 10, and then the Titans and Bears traded up in front of them back to back. Browns took Conklin, and the Bears took Leonard Floyd, who both have had like very good careers. Yep. The Giants both they needed offensive linemen, need pass rushers, didn't get any of them, and then just took Eli Apple.
Yeah, no, you definitely don't
rest is
think
history.
about this ever. Never think about it.
I count every day.
every night. But you brought up Atlanta taking Penix.
Yes.
There's no words for it.
They need defensive help. They need a D lineman. Like Dallas Turner was sitting right there. They have no edge rusher, and they go Penix. And Penix isn't a young quarterback. He's like, what, 25 years
he's
old?
old.
24, 25 years
Yeah.
old.
Now you can stash at 21, and when Cousins is done, he's 24. It's gonna be 28.
Yes.
I'm so torn because I said I talked about like with our draft stuff. I love Penix as a player.
Exactly.
I love him as a quarterback, but it's just a weird spot. I just never imagined it would happen.
Say he outperforms Kirk. Say Kirk's not ready to go week 1.
Right.
They said he is, but coming off Achilles on your plant leg, it's tough.
Also,
Penix goes out there and
he's
starts slinging it.
37, 38. Cousins, how old is he?
Yeah, it's up to 37.
So it's like it's not a spry guy coming back from an Achilles.
I guess that's kind of what they're thinking. Like I think that was part of their thought.
Yeah, but the way they came out and said it was like, well, he was the best player on the board. Like we just felt like we had to get. It's like
You can always trade down
you
too.
need other players.
the
Yeah,
thing.
they wasn't gonna
I
go.
don't know, but I think he would have like if the Raiders were what 12 or 13. Like I think the Raiders.
Somebody pulls the trigger on
I
him.
really think the trigger would have got pulled in the next like 5, 6 picks.
Yeah, but guess what?
So if you love him that much,
But then you shouldn't have given Cousins the money then.
The Raiders.
You got to pick.
I
Yeah, but there's no guarantee.
I agree with
Yeah,
you.
if there was no. Yeah.
But also if the Raiders really wanted him, they would have traded up with the Falcons. They could have got a haul for.
That's what I mean.
and
But if you
all-
love
get
him, you
all
don't trade the pick away for someone else to take him.
I think, but
the Cousins thing, I like.
That's what we're
2 and 2
saying.
together,
Like
I
you already
understand.
did it, so it's like I just don't get why you're just letting this guy gonna sit rot on your bench for no reason.
I still think Atlanta wins the NFC South. I'll say that, but
Yeah.
it would
Me
be
too.
a runaway if they would have.
But you know what? I get tricked by the Falcons every fucking year, and I know this year they actually have a good quarterback. Desmond Ritter was horrible. Then who was before Ritter?
Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan went, but then Kyle Pitts. I've been waiting for this fucking guy
Everyone
to be
has.
good, and it's like how long? When's his book close?
He was like
It's
gold jacket at the draft.
He was.
and that's what I'm saying.
Unicorn.
Every day I'm like, oh, he's gonna be great, but he's never been good. He hasn't done nothing, and I guess it's because of Ritter, I guess, and Ryan was getting older. But at what point?
They haven't had this cast of offensive skill players and a real quarterback.
And Bijan's
It's Julio and Matt were
Since
there.
that Super Bowl run. Yeah.
They might have the best offensive line in the league.
Thank you. Chris Lindstrom is probably the best
and-
guard in the NFL.
And I love their running backs. Like I'm in love with the
Algiers.
Falcons.
Plus, they're cheap. Their running backs are cheap.
They have like the ideal running back
doing the
giggling.
locker room in my
Look
opinion.
at
He's the fucking worst.
Why do you do this, Phil?
Because he's a fucking.
I don't know
piece of
why, he
shit.
just-
Look at him.
Well, Phil hates the Giants, so he's probably been all
Yeah.
you know.
He's
Yeah.
so mad. He
Yeah,
was,
you know.
like,
He's a
positive.
Giants
Yeah,
fan, the guy in the back. He's a troll.
He just-
And
yeah.
he
I was-
just hates
See, like he hasn't spoke the whole show, so that's what he does. He zooms in and does the fucking. He's a character. He's like the guy who farts in film session. You don't play, but he's there for comic
Farts in the
relief.
plane. He's a plane. He farts in the
Yeah.
plane.
Yeah,
Like, who
yeah.
is it?
He claims to be a Giants fan, Phil, but does he hate Daniel Jones?
He despises
Oh my
the
God, it's
Saquon
insane.
Barkley, he hates all-
Yeah, all the players.
like Justin Pugh.
He's been so quiet.
he's been motherfucking.
Yeah, probably.
Motherfucker.
100%.
Justin.
I didn't I'm not laughing at any of those fucking jokes.
100%.
Hold on, I'll do something.
What?
Yeah,
See if I have any
type in-
tweets about Justin Pugh?
Oh no, he probably.
Oh, good thing Glenny's not here. So I can't. I did part of my take 11 years ago, like when you guys first came to New York. So I'm on part of my take, and Caleb's hiring interns that day. So it was Glenny Ball's first day in the office. Glenny Ball's running a 40-yard dash outside.
Oh, you were there that
He comes
day?
in, and you guys are hiring interns. And I'm like, oh, I could use an intern. Like, we had 4 of my best friends. We all lived in a house. We were like old school, the movie. Like, we lived that life. And Glenny Ball's best friend became my intern. And he just came to hang out at the house. He would stock the fridge.
Yep.
We looked up. He had some tweets. He wrote a letter to Jerry Reese, the general manager of the New York Giants, like shitting on me, tweeting about it. We hired
Glenn did, or
Johnny, his buddy Johnny. He was shitting on me to the GM. Now all of a sudden he's like in my house, and he's like my little brother now. He's doing stand up. He's killing it. But
That's who I went to go see the other night.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, he's great. It's very funny how Glenny and him are very
That's funny.
intertwined.
so I'm sure there's tweets out there.
Yeah.
I never look my name up on Twitter. That's a bad idea.
as everyone here shouldn't.
Yes, you're right.
Does he have one?
He's a kind of a glazer.
Kind of.
Fuck yeah.
I only have 4.
Please, Justin, heal up quick.
Oh, please.
In fact, you're the one person in his phone that he likes, bro.
No, I'm not even kidding. I was like, fuck.
Yeah, it's December 11, 2016. Can Justin Pugh's knee heal quick, please?
Please.
All caps, please.
I wish it would have. I would have got paid to stay here. Fuck.
I have one thing from the beginning of the episode when you guys were talking about the Vikings really briefly. I took them last night.
Before he goes, he is in love with J.J. McCarthy.
He's killing it at camp.
Everyone's killing it at camp.
7-on-7, it was unbelievable.
Everyone kills it at camp.
18 touchdowns, 1 interception, tearing up the Vikings' first-team defense. I'm taking the Vikings to make the playoffs, plus 300. I already took them, actually. I think that there's always one team that'll sneaky rise up.
It's not the Vikings.
I don't see it.
I do. I think the defense is obviously not something to be worried about.
Really worried.
Yeah, but I just think injuries happen even if JJ or Sam Darnold get injured, I still think they have enough talent to sneak into the playoffs.
I don't hate the Vikings.
Hawkinson won't be there all year. You have Justin Jefferson. Yes, he's a beast. He's going to get double covered.
I love Jordan Addison.
Is he getting suspended?
Well, yeah, he's also in trouble.
For what?
His second DUI.
Yeah.
Nah, that doesn't really get you in trouble.
No. They're pretty.
Fuck it, then they're going to the playoffs. Sorry. Darisaw is a stud tackle. O'Neal's another stud tackle. Aaron Jones is going to be great.
That's why
The NFC's pretty weak. I don't hate the Vikings.
Somebody's going to rise up. Somebody's going to rise up in the NFC. That's a good. It's a good line to take. Do we think it's going to be Minnesota? The story will tell. The story will tell. You could say the same thing about the Giants. The Giants are the rise up team. I think there's two different stories there. A team will rise up out of nowhere in the NFC, fact, and then which team will it be is to be determined.
And not to bring up the Jets, but like last year, if you looked at the odds to make the playoffs for like the Jets, it's like, oh well, they're definitely going to be in. But then Rodgers goes down, and another team has to rise up, and then it becomes like the Texans, who probably were plus 400 to make the playoffs last year.
Agreed.
Oh yeah.
So I'm not looking for them to.
No, he was
to
making
win the
a good point.
Yeah,
That's fair. That's
just a flyer.
I don't hate it.
Yeah.
The Jets are a very sneaky team this year too because of how old the roster is. Like your two tackles are 31, 32, 33 years old. Aaron Rodgers is there. You're a few injuries away. The Jets have the best defense in football. How far can that take you if you don't have?
Right.
Got to get the Reddick situation sorted out too.
That's the thing. The Jets could be.
I hope so.
The Jets could be like one of the best teams, or like the biggest disaster.
I think they're going to be really good. I think they'll be really good.
As long as
I'm obviously
Rodgers is
biased.
healthy, I don't see how they don't win like 10 games.
They're the biggest.
The quarterback play was
if,
so bad.
So horrible.
Still, what did they win last year? 7 games?
Yeah.
Their defense is.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I'm saying if you even get like average quarterback
That's
play,
what I'm saying.
and Rodgers going to be better than average.
And if he goes down, Tyrod Taylor can come in and play.
Right.
We saw that last year.
Yes.
To play.
Who's a better option than anything they had last year?
I'm also going to say I've loved this guy from when he started. If he ever in his life could stay healthy, Mike Williams is so good.
I know.
Mike Williams is
You forget he's there.
I know.
I know.
I'm trying not to get excited about him because I know he's only going to play like 4 games.
Get excited about.
I'm like, all right.
Be in a good spot because you have other receivers there. Like I know you had Keenan Allen, but like, dude, when he's healthy, he's like so.
He's so good.
And Breece Hall is the second best. He's a top 3 running back in the NFL.
Really
Garrett Wilson back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons.
Wilson's awesome.
And now he's another year away from that injury too, Breece Hall. So I think you're going to see him even like level up again.
Me coming off ACL, I feel so much better this year than the year previous. Like last year when I was playing, he's going to take the next step.
But they are the Jets.
Oh, stop with that.
You're not wrong.
That's bullshit.
It's not bullshit. You know it.
The fan.
I know that's bullshit. They're the Red Sox. The Red Sox will never win. That's all I heard growing up. Oh, then they win 4 in a like
100
titles in 18 years.
But
No MetLife turf though.
Is he gonna run out with the American flag?
I hope.
Yes, is he?
You know what sucks? It's a Monday night again, and like I'm gonna have. I don't believe.
The Niners. The Niners.
At the Niners,
You just wanted a 1 o'clock start. Like let's.
I wanted just
Wait,
a
Connor,
just
tell
chill
Justin,
Sunday.
Tell Justin what you said on the stream right before the game started.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm sitting.
Before the game, we're starting. All these Jets fans have goosebumps.
I'm sitting with Kevin. And I said I'm sitting with KFC, and I'm like, Jesus. I said, no, this is so great. But I said the only I'm a Jets fan. You know what keeps flashing my mind? Vinny Testaverde blowing his Achilles. It was game 1. It was right after they just went to the AFC Championship.
Because he's a Jet fan. He knows the truth.
That's how it feels. And it's just like, and Kevin's like, oh, don't put that in the world. I'm like, I know. And then literally look at that.
September 11th.
Crazy.
That was literally 12 minutes later. He had no legs.
It was bad.
I remember he got hurt, and I was saying to you guys, I'm like, oh, he got up on his own. He's not hurt that bad. I was trying to trick him myself, you know?
Oh, is this
he
the
was
clip?
out.
Oh, this is it.
Something that matters at Barstool, you can talk 80 100.
The last time I was this excited to start a season was the year after they made the AFC Championship game against the Broncos. Testaverdi in the first quarter of that game goes back, blows the Achilles out. It's the first thing I thought about when I woke up this morning.
That is in the ether because I don't know what the fuck.
That is unbelievable.
How crazy is that?
It's unreal.
Kickoff was 3 minutes later.
Yeah, it was literally, truly like right before the.
Hold on. So what happened? So what happened when he actually tore his Achilles? Did you just get blamed by all Jets Twitter? Like,
dude! So the clip goes. The clip goes like mega viral.
Like outside.
Like my phone is just exploding. Like, and it's just like, and I'm just like as upset. Like whatever people want to say, fuck you, come fuck. That's fine. I was so upset Rodgers was hurt. I didn't even care. I was so despondent that like the situation was so horrible anyway. I'm like, this doesn't make me feel bad at all. I feel horrible enough.
That was
And then they win the game.
They won the game, and then you're tricking yourself.
Walk off.
like Zach Wilson's the guy.
And you're like, oh, maybe this will work out.
By the darling of Hard Knocks.
Yeah, exactly.
Drafted rookie, houses a kick to win the game.
Brutal. Yeah. They're gonna be really. They're gonna win the playoffs. They're making the playoffs this year.
Is this the clip when he got hurt?
Oh, this is rough. Why are we doing this? What are we doing here?
There's no way.
This is when he was taken off the field.
No way. I don't root for injuries. There's no way.
No, he's doing that because he's stuck.
No, he's hurt.
No, he's
I can't do this. He's hurt. I can't do this, Plummer. He's 100%
I can't do this.
Why'd you do this?
There's no way.
Wait,
what do you mean?
No, he's doing that to. He's doing that.
I was confused.
Like, slow
No
down the
surprise.
game. Let the,
He's hurt. He would not be sitting on
His
the ground.
Rodgers jersey sucking down.
This is the most.
But is it? But it's not.
You're right.
It's
You're
the
right.
most fucking. But this is why I don't do it. This is why I don't do it.
There's no way.
Bro,
Yeah, that was Kevin's only stream for the year.
Yes, it was. He never came back. Yeah.
Never came back.
I asked the person, I'm like, come do the stream. It's gonna be fun. You sit with me. We'll watch the Jets game. And he's like, fuck you, Clemmer.
Yeah, he only loses on stream stuff.
Yeah.
I had one last question. When you're sweating your ass off, you got training camp going now. Does it ever bother you that a guy holds out just for the fact that he's not there, putting through the suffering?
Actually.
Yeah.
Like, you know why he's doing it. You respect that he's standing on business. But at a certain point, like, you look over and you're like, man, where the fuck is Joey? What the fuck is
If
he
it's
doing?
anybody that's not an offensive lineman, I could care less. But when you have 15 offensive linemen and now you're at 14 and 2 guys get hurt and you're taking extra reps because that guy's not there, you're just like, come on, man. But typically it's a Trent Williams.
Yep.
It's a primetime position player or a player on the offensive line. So you really can't get too mad because you know he's your best player. But you do, like, you're motherfucking him when you're doing like Oklahoma drill.
One less guy to do it, right? Yeah.
That would make you crazy. You would lose your mind about that.
Oh, yeah.
But Bosco would be the biggest. He'd hold out every year.
He'd be right, yeah.
He does hold out every year.
He does.
Imagine
Every year.
It's on Pick'em every year.
Or holding out. You literally
Contract
hold out every
negotiation.
year.
if you guys all held out of your contracts and Rico had to do this show like alone for 5 days a week, he would motherfuck you guys.
the show
every
wouldn't
fucking
exist.
day.
The hold in is actually worse. When you have to look at the guy standing there, he's drinking your Gatorade. And he's like, yeah, I don't want to get fined $50K. I'm just going to stand here and not do a fucking thing. That one's tough.
That's one thing you probably don't miss at all is training camp.
No, I didn't do it last year. I won't do it
Because
again this
I
year.
was talking to I said on the show yesterday, like some of the Steelers guys, because Tomlin's like still an old school guy. They go to a college, they have to buy their own fridges, they have to buy their own TV and have it there, and like that is being in a bunk when you're fucking 28 years old at that point, or like
Worth millions of dollars.
And you're also, in most cases, massive human beings like this guy.
huge guys
Sleeping in a
sitting
twin
bunks,
bed.
and you're like, why the fuck are we doing this? And it's so hot and all that. What's up, dude?
I just want to say that the chat, Yenzen from the chat said that training camp's not hard anymore.
It is not as hard as it once was. It's definitely not as hard as it
Jensen, all right.
Thank you,
but it's-
Jen.
It's still fucking miserable. I mean, it is miserable, but it's gotten so much better. So shout out to all the guys that went out there and they were like,
When you first started, was it harder than when you ended?
yeah, with Tom Coughlin, because Tom Coughlin was very much this is how it's supposed to be. But we've seen with Amazon coming out and giving $1 million for the Black Friday game. You have Netflix paying I think $150 million for the Christmas games. If we don't have our stars on the field, we're not making money.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to tune into a game where Aaron Rodgers isn't the starting quarterback for the Jets. Those ratings just tank. So the league is shifting because now with daily fantasy, like we talked about, people gambling on it, the amount of money that's going into it, we need our stars on the field. So now they're doing, hey, I'm not putting Caleb Williams out there because if Caleb Williams doesn't play this year, who's watching a Bears game?
No one.
And they have a bunch of primetime games already allotted in. So, like, what do you do? Right.
Exactly.
You're fucked.
That was the brutal with the Jets last year. All those
awful.
primetime games.
Got Zach Wilson out there fucking.
Oh, man.
We should be able to flex every primetime game to give us the
Absolutely.
best matchup of the week. It's
Yeah.
tough because of short weeks and long weeks.
And it hurts the season ticket holders a little bit.
Yeah.
They want to take their kids to a game.
Right.
There's various points.
And the players, too. They got, like, travel and shit.
It
Like,
should
now I
be
gotta
more of
do
a
it.
flex, I feel like. Though.
Maybe starting later in the season once the playoffs are on the line because
Yeah.
even if you're a fan and your team's in contention, who doesn't want to go to a Sunday night football, Monday night football game?
Yeah. I have one last question. Actually, no, never mind. Have you ever gone to a Giants game and had to go home right after?
This last year. So I showed up.
How long did it take you to get home?
Not very long. I was living in like the apartments right down the street. I went to that Seattle game.
Probably.
I was sitting in the box. I hadn't signed yet. And a friend of mine's a season ticket holder, so I went and sat in his box. And humble flex.
I feel like you could have gone to a box. You
That-
just called.
Well, no, I wasn't on the team, so I can't. You know what I'm saying? But I watched the game unfold, and I'm sitting there watching the pick six, and I'm like, "Fuck, should I sign?" Shit.
Should I do
The season literally it was like now the odds of making the playoffs were basically zero.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're 1-6. Like, should I go to the facility tomorrow and sign? It's like, fuck it, all right, let's do it. That was the first time I've ever been to a Giants game and watched from the stands.
I've only been to one with you.
Yeah.
It's hard to get out of there.
Oh,
we were also in a box
With
humble
you,
flex.
yeah.
I mean, I drove home from
Ravens
every
game.
Giants game of all time. Not of
Yeah,
all
but
time,
the
every-
crowd-
You were leaving
gone.
way later.
Yeah,
Way
you're
later.
doing your treatment and shit.
Had to walk to American Dream, get an Uber to the city. For the
3 hours.
Yeah.
Took about 2 hours.
That's miserable.
3 hours to
Can't
get.
you
The
get a
worst
train?
spot.
There isn't a train.
The lines for the train, it's fucking wild.
It was a 1 o'clock kickoff. Game ended. Almost didn't make it here for a 7:30 Yankee stream.
Yep, it was wild. It's
I've
crazy.
seen like this rendering of the Giants putting their stadium on the water here in Manhattan.
Oh, me too.
Would you guys love it if there was a stadium back
my God.
in Manhattan? Because
They almost did it on the west side where the Jets almost put the stadium there.
with Hudson Yards before.
Yeah.
I would love it.
Wouldn't that be the best stadium
Incredible.
of all time?
Might hurt tailgating though.
It would kill
Tailgating is such a
tailgating.
big factor.
But guess what? Look at what Wrigley does.
Yeah.
In the middle of the
Yeah.
city.
Or Fenway.
Yes, you're
all
right.
around
The
it.
bars become the tailgating.
That's a tailgate.
Oh, I'm not defending it one way or the other, but
No, I get what you
football and tailgating, that's their whole thing. Like, you
I
bring
get
your
it.
chair, people know what they're doing. They got the same spot they try to park in. Like,
I get
it is
it.
what
They'll
it is.
make more money when they own the bars around.
Right,
it.
exactly right. And the hotels and everything else.
There's nothing better than Wrigley when you're walking and it's like, right. I wish Yankee Stadium was in the fucking city like that too. Obviously, it's so much harder, but it's just like, I don't know. It's so much cooler when you.
It's also the same with Fenway too. It's the
Fenway,
same kind of
same
thing. It's right there in the city. All these cool bars. It's awesome.
100%. Well, Justin, thank you for coming in. Was this? This is
that's what it was supposed to be, yeah.
That
That
is
looks insane.
Wouldn't that have been wild?
that is unbelievable.
Yep. That was
cool
almost going to
stadium.
happen. Yeah, I remember being in my early 20s and they're talking about doing that. I'm like, this sounds amazing.
There's been a couple. This one was 2023.
Hey.
But yeah, I think it's the same principle. There's been like so many variations of this. This was just the first one that I
Yeah,
pulled up.
that I remember before MetLife, there was real talks about it.
Yeah.
And
I don't like sharing the stadium with the Jets.
I don't blame you.
I mean, you like having like the feels like a home stadium.
Yes.
It makes it a little cold when you know you got to flip over to the Jets tomorrow. 'cause
And all they do is just change the lights. There's not even any sort of like things in the wall. That seems a mess. They fucked it all up.
it's just hard in this area. I mean, the cost to build two different stadiums.
Right.
You get why they did it, but it's just tough for the fan.
Yeah.
I don't think New York will ever host the Olympics, but do you think that the only chance the stadiums would be, like if the Jets or Giants get their own stadium, is if New York hosted the Olympics?
That's how Hudson Yards got all their zoning. New York was going to host the Olympics, and Hudson Yard was supposed to be this like the mecca of where it all was going to happen, and it didn't end up going
Damn.
through. But I don't think a lot of cities want to host the Olympics.
No, it's become
saw
a
that.
boondoggle. They all lose money.
did that.
And that's why Salt Lake City, 2028, the Winter Olympics are in Salt Lake City because they actually made money. Mitt Romney was involved with it. They made money back in, was it 90s?
Mormons don't fuck around. The
Yeah, they
Mormons
don't.
get their money.
So they kind of have
So much sense. BYU is sick.
and they like walk around like they have the, you're absolutely right. Look at some of the temples they have. It's incredible, the stuff they have. So, but Salt Lake City already has the infrastructure in place, so that's why they got it. I think it's going to be even harder for an American city that doesn't already have the infrastructure to then go in and do it.
So we're just going to see cities repeating as
I mean, L.A., and, they already have the Coliseum there. Like, shit like that.
terrible stadium.
Yeah, because they did in 84.
Terrible
It's
stadium.
awful. I went to USC game this last year for a video I was doing. It's crazy. I mean, there's no one sits in the one end zone.
You would think
it's too far
Isn't
away.
the neighborhood terrible around it too?
Yeah, it's just weird. It's just very
if you've
weird.
Never
Nothing
been
there.
You would think it's the coolest stadium. Have you never
The
been?
Coliseum?
Yeah, Coliseum.
When you're outside of it, it feels cool. Like it's got like obviously the Olympic rings.
Yeah.
There's like some history to it, so that part's cool. But when you're in it, you're kind of like
The Dodgers had to play there when they moved because the Dodger Stadium hadn't been built yet, and it's not built for baseball. They had to build a giant screen, almost like a green monster, so people wouldn't hit like 200-foot home runs. It's the most bizarre thing.
I went for the Clash at the Coliseum, and there's one row where it's like the USC Ring of Honor, and it's like some pretty good players, like Lendell White.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You're like, oh wow, this is really cool. And then you get to see where like the Heisman Ring of Honor is, and it's like a section like on the field, and it's just like holy fuck.
Yeah.
it's where like Jeff Gordon was sitting and all these like big time NASCAR racers, but I thought it was really funny. Just like the differences in the level. Like it was just like this is our third tier, second tier, and then it was just like all right, those are the champs.
Yeah. But yeah, Justin, thank you for coming in. Check you out on your podcast. You have 2 podcasts now, right?
Yeah, I'm doing one with Colt McCoy, Jay Gruden, AQ Shipley, called Clean Pocket. We talk about, just breaking down the games and things like that. And then I have my own called Net Worth, where we talk about the business of football and how the money flows in and flows out. So always interested. The money always tells a story when it comes to these things, and that's what I love about it.
I will say I do watch those clips.
We talk a little shit.
That's
why I like coming here. You guys are the same exact way.
Yeah, it's laid back, it's funny, and also informative at the same time, which is nice. But yeah, go check out Justin on those. We will be back tomorrow. See you guys tomorrow.
Wait.